name is Molly. I'm the librarian here at the Lake Library, and also I was new to Instant Pot not too long ago. And how many of you have had that family legend of the pressure cooker blowing up and exploding all over the kitchen? Probably a lot of us. I remember there was a story that my grandmother was cooking tomato sauce in hers and it exploded and made red all over the kitchen and they had to repaint the kitchen. But I always suspect that maybe Grandpa wanted dinner early and he kind of looked in it. Could have been his fault. I don't know. So I've always been a little nervous about pressure cookers because of that. But my husband, he works in the food industry and he works with pressure cookers a lot in his job. So he's actually kind of studied this and researched it because he knows I'm a bit of a klutz, as many who know me can attest to. So he wanted to make sure that this had a lot of safety features. And so I got a Instant Pot for Mother's Day, which was great. And then I was really nervous to open it up out of the box, which I'm sure a lot of people are, but now I use it all the time. It does a lot of really great things. The Instant Pot in particular, that the model I have can also be a slow cooker, but I've never tried it as a slow cooker because I have a crock pot. I've used it for other things to cook things quickly. And for the most part, things come out pretty well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to get your Instant Pot, or what is also sometimes called a multi-cooker system. And they come in various name brands. There's Instant Pot, the Melfi Multi-Pot pressure cooker, Power Quick Pot, and they're all brand names of these things that include a pressure cook function. And most users will use their multi-cooker as a pressure cooker more than any other cooking function. So make sure you consider the time it takes for a pressure cooker to come up to pressure, because the liquid has to heat in order for the device to come up to pressure, and it can take from 5 to 20 minutes depending on the recipe and how much liquid's in there for that to heat up enough to come under pressure. And if a recipe has a lot of liquid, like a soup for instance, the time to come up to pressure will take a little longer. And think of that as akin to waiting for your oven to come up to temperature, like a pre-cooked temperature, before it beeps and you're ready to go. Also, check that you have the cooking pot in the housing of the unit before you're starting. It's a good idea to put a spatula or a wooden spoon across the top of the pot if you don't have the inner cooking pot in before you start throwing things into the pot. Now, I've accidentally threw rice in mine when I had the pot outside, and it was dry rice, thankfully, but you know, I learned a lesson. Let's say that. So if you put a wooden spoon, if you don't have the pot in there before you start pouring stuff in there, it's kind of a good way to remind yourself not to put stuff, especially if you dump the water in or liquid into an empty cooking pot without the inner liner. Well, that could be some trouble. So keep in mind that cooking smells will transfer onto those silicone gaskets. So it's important to own several. And so for a very fragrant food, you want to keep one silicone gasket for things that are spicy, or if you're going to do Indian spicy food or chili. And then you want another one for mild recipes or side dishes or dessert recipes, because you don't necessarily want your dessert to taste like chili. Not a good idea. So the silicone gasket should be replaced about every 6 months, depending on how often you use the pressure cooker. I didn't know that when I was first beginning this journey. So I had one that was actually slightly cracked, but I couldn't tell. So what happened is it wouldn't come up to pressure and the steam would leak up the sides. I'm like, what's going on here? And then I realized there was a slight crack in it. So I buy two at least, to keep one spare for when that happens. And the silicone gasket should be washed after each use of your Instant Pot, the multi-pot, or a pressure cooker. And recipes can be cut in half, doubled, tripled, etc. Depending on the size of your pot. All recipes can be made in any size pot without any adjustments to the cooking directions. So your time is going to be the same unless you got a small pot and you can't put something that would fit in a 6 to 8 quart pot in there. There are different brands of these that are kind of generic. For example, my husband had my daughters get me something called iCook, which is actually the Canadian brand of Instant Pot. So my controls are going to be a little bit different. And unfortunately, they don't really give you a whole lot of manuals with these items. So sometimes you're able to use Google or YouTube, and you would place in your Google search the brand name of yours and whatever question you have about it, like, what do the controls look like? So mine are slightly different, and so I have to learn to adapt recipes. For example, my cook time is a little longer than it says for Instant Pot. It says, like rice is supposed to be 10 minutes and I will have to do 12, depending on the kind of rice. I just know that from using mine over and over again, I need to add a little bit of time to mine because it's a little different, because it's Canadian. I don't know. Something like that. Okay, so let me get us going with something else. So I'm going to talk a little bit about safety and some safety features. The thing about the safety features of these newer pressure cookers, these electric ones, they are magnetically sealed. So when they come up to pressure, it's almost impossible to get them open. So, but again, don't try it. Also, you want to have some clearance for that steam to come out, and that's why they're showing don't put a towel over it or try to block it or something. And sometimes, every time that steam goes off, I kind of jump because it's hissing at me and it's kind of, ugh. And my husband laughs every single time because I go, ah, and he goes, it's coming. But anyway, it does make that hissing sound, and it's a little startling to me because I think, oh, it's going to blow, but it's not. Also, I've seen where people take a wooden spoon, for example, and they kind of push a little bit on that steam valve when they're releasing the valve to let some of that steam out so it doesn't completely shoot up all over the walls. It's important to have some clearance if you can. Some people have smaller kitchens, so they're just, I don't know, I'm always afraid. I have a space actually for mine that I can leave out in the open so it doesn't steam up the counters and take all the laminate off my cupboards, because I don't think that would be good. But some people are not fortunate enough of that to have a kitchen that you're able to do that. But I have seen where people lay a dish towel over the part where the steam is coming out. I don't know. It's up to you. I wouldn't advise it, but if you don't have a choice and you don't want your cupboard to come apart, then I would think about doing that. So it does have a magnetic seal on there. So once it comes up the pressure, you're not going to get that lid off. Don't try it. Now, I've used mine to do rice a lot. There's some cheat sheets I also added to the link to get into this meeting. So they tell you the cooking times for things. But when I'm cooking rice, an important thing with rice and beans, you can cook the dried beans without soaking, which is nice because I don't often plan 24 hours in advance to soak beans or whatever. But the important thing with beans and rice is to rinse them off. Like you have them in your colander and you rinse them in cold water to get some of the dirt, and sometimes there's dirt in beans and stuff, off. And also for the rice, you're going to take off some of the excess starch so the rice will not clump together when you're cooking the rice. So, and rice comes out pretty well in that. Even if you just use it as a rice cooker, it's awesome, because that was something that always eluded me. Of course, it could have been that I had a faulty stove at the time when I was trying to cook rice, but that's another story. A thing that's great about the pressure cooker is that it holds a lot of the liquid and the nutrition in, because you're cooking under pressure. You're not losing a lot of the nutrition, and things like that. Plus the time factor. I mean, you do have to count for the 20 minutes it might take for it to heat up to pressure, but in the long run, it's a shorter way of cooking things. I know a lot of people take them camping, or if they have a vacation home or something where they're not there necessarily all the time. It's just a nice thing to have. A lot of people use crock pots, but I use both a crock pot and an Instant Pot. And I use a crock pot for things that I obviously want to take the time to cook over. You know, some things just come out better, I think, in a crock pot, but you know, you'll experiment and learn as time goes by. Anyway, you know that little musical thing, you'll see where there's arrows on the front, and you turn it and it makes that doo-doo, doo-doo. Well, I always like to play with that a little bit. It makes my husband crazy, and then I'll do it like 2 and 3 times, and I go, do you have to do that? And of course I get to do it one more time because it's fun for me. That's that's how I do it. So the music lets you know that everything is sealed and ready to go. Most things you're going to probably just use on a timed cook, which is usually high pressure, like rice, for example. If I'm doing white rice, or I am doing long grain rice or jasmine rice, I will just set the manual timer for 10 minutes. If I'm doing brown rice, it's like a preset in there, and it will pre-cook it to a certain texture, and it's just set on brown rice. So I'll use that for brown rice, because brown rice has got a funny texture, and I don't know. I think it just doesn't cook on the quick cook like the other way that you use for white rice. I've made black beans in it for like Mexican food, and I put that on the bean setting. So anything that has a separate setting control on there, it has a time set and a cooking temperature set. For most things, I probably just use the manual, which is the high pressure setting. You'll get some practice and learn a couple different things, and you'll come back to your favorite recipes. But I would start very simply, and you can download those cheat sheets or cooking charts. You can also find items online. I'm big on finding things online that might be helpful. And actually, the Instant Pot website is actually very informative. Okay. This is the YouTube channel, Instant Pot, as you see. That is theirs. You can, if you have a subscription to YouTube, or you sign in with your Gmail, you can get to YouTube, and you can subscribe to this, and we'll have different videos. And this is the the YouTube video, and on their little channel they'll have different videos you can watch on here. So this is another way to get instruction on how to use your Instant Pot. This will also have recipes and other examples, so, and other things like this Vortex Pro, but I'm really talking about the Instant Pot. So this is the instantpot.com. as you can see, website. Let's see if we can make that big so we get these other little tabbies out of the way. So when you're looking at this, it'll ask you to register your product probably here because people don't do guarantees and warranties the same way they used to do everything online. And a lot of times the manuals are not on there. So these have the different products. So if you're just thinking about getting one, it's got the different products. You can compare and look at them and get an idea. They also have the air fryers, stuff like that. On here also, there are recipes, there are cooking timetables. So the instantpot.com has a lot of really good resources there. And also here in the resources that again shows that water test that you might want to try first. Now, I didn't, but you know, if you want to learn how to use it and you want to gain some confidence, you can try that first. It's up to you, or try rice or something else. This also explains the safety features. And of course, they want to sell you product, but also the user manuals are on here. It also has some frequently asked questions and troubleshooting. But one of my favorite part here is the getting started videos. If you go under getting started, there is these videos, and there's also these lovely recipe videos, which are really nice. So when you go in here, you can recipes. I have made cheesecake in mine. I had to buy special stuff from Amazon. I didn't like the consistency when it came out. I was less than happy with it, but you might if you want to try. But look at all these lovely, yummy things. I think it's about dinner time. I'm kind of hungry. So if you go to instantpot.com, they have some very nice features there. And also, if you're on Facebook, you got facebook.com/instantpot. And if you log in at Facebook, you can go in here, you can create an account. I'm not sure if it's necessarily to have that Facebook account put on here. They have different stories. There's a whole community. There's a bunch of recipes. There's videos, instructions on here too. So there's a whole Facebook thing. Okay, so I'm seeing that you're chatting in the chat box, and that's awesome. So Paulette says to everyone that they do noodles for 4 minutes, 4 cups to 16-ounce noodles. I've made mac and cheese in it. It's important though, it's kind of like your crock pot. You don't want to put the dairy in there right away. What you do is you cook the noodles, and while it's the noodles in the butter and the water, and when it's still hot, you melt the cheese in there, so you can do it with Velveeta and other things. But you can get those recipes from the internet, or if you happen to have a cookbook, it's 4 cups of water to 16 ounces of noodles. So that's similar to the macaroni that I've done. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Just be nice, because this is like first time I did this.
Molly, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Paulette.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Okay. The float valve. Can you buy another one of those?
I believe so. Go to the instantpot.com and look for the parts there. I've also found parts on Amazon. Amazon is a good resource for different parts. That's where I get the fancy silicone pot holder things.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, so you can either look at Amazon or the Instant Pot website. Sometimes Amazon is less expensive. What I got is a set of, they're almost like mittens, and they're made of silicone, so you can, you know how that pot is hard to pull up because it's got that weird lip on it. So they're like mittens, and I find that easier to pull the pot out.
So they wouldn't work?
I got that on Amazon. It's silicone, and it came with a trivet. It's silicone too, so you can do hard-boiled eggs and steamed vegetables in it. Because what Instant Pot comes with, it comes with those very basic things. So you can buy extra fancier things if you want. But I like the silicone because they look like little mittens, and since it's so hard to pull that inner pot out because it's awkward and weird, that I went ahead and bought that. And then I bought the little cheesecake maker thing, and it was just strange. I tried it. It was, I don't know. I think I'd rather do it in the oven or get one of those instant cheesecake things because I don't know. It was a lot of trouble. It was an experiment. Anything else going on? Anybody want to type anything else? Everybody doing okay? All right. Well, thanks for coming to the program. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learn some things. I hope you get some ideas of where to go and get some more resources. Of course, we have all kind of books and things here. You can also download ebooks from here as well. I've done a couple Instant Pot ebooks, and that's just another way if you can't, since we're only doing curbside here right now, you can go to our main branch or the other branches, but a lot of times I use the e-resources for that. But thanks to my very first Zoom program, and have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.